Did you know there is an estimated 220 million house cats being kept worldwide, making these furry little friends one of the most popular pets on the planet? And of course they are! Look at that fluffy little face and his tiny little paws and its adorable little purr. It's just so damn cute! So a cat put me in hospital one time. So me and my girlfriend had gone away for a relaxing week in the country. We were staying in a beautiful little cabin in the middle of nowhere, away from work, away from distractions, away from stress, and, as I had wrongly assumed, away from any vicious animals that were going to tear me to shreds. So one day I'm just laying on the sofa enjoying the lovely view of the forest when I see this tiny little black and white cat just wandering its way towards our cabin. Now, our cabin was one of about 10 holiday homes that lined the path, so my immediate assumption was, oh my god, someone's cat has got out. So I rushed to the door, swing it open, and there he was, just sitting on my doorstep. He was a bit timid at first, but eventually let me get close enough to smooth him, and I told my girlfriend to call the management office to see if anyone had lost their cat. I was genuinely concerned, because if this cat ran away, the owners would likely never find it. So I stayed with the cat as my girlfriend tried again and again to get in contact with anyone that may be able to help. But with every unanswered phone call, I knew that it was only a matter of time before this little fluffball gets bored and just wanders off into the forest, never to be seen again. I knew that sooner or later I was going to have to try and get this cat into the house, or at least until we could find the owner. But this thing was timid, shy, and definitely would not take kindly to being grabbed and kidnapped into our cabin. But after many failed attempts of getting in contact with anyone, I figured I needed to do the honourable thing and be the hero that this cat really needed. He did not appreciate it. I grabbed the cat, who immediately transformed into a tornado of claws and teeth, and ran into the cabin, closing the door behind me. I was hurt, but it was a job well done. Or at least I thought. Because at that exact moment, my girlfriend came into the hall to announce that she had finally managed to get through to the management office and was told, "Oh no, don't worry, that's just one of the wild cats that live around the farm. But just be careful, he doesn't scratch you or anything, because those things can carry all sorts of diseases." So off we go to the local hospital, with me now wondering the whole time how on earth I'm going to explain this to a doctor and not look like a complete idiot. So I saw this random wildcat in the woods, and I decided it would be a great idea to kidnap it against its will. Well, okay then. So the doctor disappears for a while and comes back to explain that due to me not having had most of the usual preventative injections as a kid, I'm not really protected against anything. At this point, I'm sure it's the end for me. I'm writing out my last will, I'm carving my gravestone. However, the doctor tells me there's nothing to worry about. She's just going to give me a simple, routine tetanus injection, but will also arrange to have all my other required vaccinations done when I get back home. Whew, I was really starting to panic there. Turns out there was nothing to be scared of after all. Okay, Jay, are you ready for your injection? Hey babe, what's your biggest fear? Oh, I really hate spiders. Okay. Happy birthday to you. Fears! Now I don't mind spiders, snakes don't really bother me, and until sharks become smart enough to lure me into the water, I really don't need to worry about them. But there is one thing I'm not so keen on. Heights! So when my birthday came around this year, my very thoughtful girlfriend decided what better to gift me with than a high climbing treetop challenge. But, of course, me not wanting to seem ungrateful, rather than simply saying, "What the hell were you thinking? How about I just jump into this pit of snakes for my birthday instead?" I responded, "Oh wow, thank you so much. I can't wait to do this." So here's the story of how the classic English urge to be polite and not seem ungrateful even at the worst of times can overwhelm even the strongest fears for self-preservation. We arrived at the site nice and early before being fitted with our incredibly uncomfortable harnesses and given a brief demonstration on how not to fall to your death. Then, once you've demonstrated that you can basically climb a ladder and walk in a straight line, they just send you on your way. Courses 1, 2, and even 3 were not too bad. Just climb a ladder and walk along a few structurally questionable looking rope bridges, then slide down a small zip wire at the end. Besides from the non-stop agony of being confronted by my greatest fear, I thought it was going quite well. But when I got to course number 4, that's when my confidence began to waver. With each course, the platform gets higher, which lined up nicely with my regret to ever take part in this in the first place. But we don't want to seem ungrateful, remember? So, I soldier on. So I climb, walk, and even swing my way through the course, feeling pretty damn proud of myself, until I come to my first big roadblock. At the end of the 4th course, much like all the others, is a zip wire. However, not only is this zip wire twice the size of any to this point, but its mounting point is lower to the body. Now, why is this a big deal for me? Well, because every other zip line until now, you simply step forward and away you go. However, with the mounting point being positioned lower here, that means I have to step off the platform, allowing myself to free fall for a few feet before the zip line catches me. And as I'm sure most of you know, the fear of heights is mostly rooted in the fear of falling. So, at this point now, I'm terrified. Palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy, there's vomit on my shirt already, mum's spaghetti. But, against the risk of seeming even remotely ungrateful, I take that step forward into what I assume to be my final moments. But I survived! I made it! And after about 15 seconds of screaming, my feet are now firmly back on the ground. I have never been more relieved. Oh my god, it's finally over. I am never going back into a tree ever again. Well done! Just course number 5 to go. What the... So up I climb again. And this time I can tell you, my nerves are shot. My body is shaking and every step up the ladder is getting harder and harder. And this ladder was going on forever. Are we at the top yet? I continue my way through the course, just willing myself to get to the end. The sooner I get there, the sooner this is all over and I'm back at home with a comfy duvet and a nice hot chocolate. Meanwhile, my girlfriend is waving and smiling. I continue to act like I'm having the time of my life. Although, at this point, I think the veil is getting pretty thin on that one. But after possibly the most nerve-wracking experience of my life, I was finally here. The final obstacle. The only thing standing between me and the end of the worst birthday gift I've ever received. And much like all the courses before it, it just comes down to the zip wire. However, this one's standing at around 29,000 feet. Granted, I didn't measure it and nobody has since confirmed that figure, but it certainly felt that high. When I stood at the edge of that platform and looked out at the zip wire running across the entirety of the park, the only way down to jump, my greatest fear come to life, I felt something. Something ancestral, something powerful. The will of England. The belief in all we English hold dear to who we are as human beings manifested itself as a voice that came to me. And this voice simply said to me, "You don't want to look ungrateful." It is done. Our creation of the human being is finally complete. Ooh, and just in time for lunch. Oh, Excuse me, doctor, but we still need to find space for these. And what are these? These are the highly sensitive and potentially agonising nerve endings. I thought we should put them somewhere important, like in the torso, around some of the vital organs. Oh, but I have a baked potato finishing in the microwave any second now. Well, sir, these are quite important. Just shove them in the teeth. If you are one of the billions of human beings afflicted with the devastating curse of having teeth, then you at some point have most likely felt the agonising torture of toothache. And yes, I was recently suffering through this myself, hence my heightened anger and frustration towards the topic. So a few months ago now, I was starting to get some pain from one of my wisdom teeth. So, like any sensible adult, I ignored it and hoped it would go away. It did not. So, I did the reasonable thing and ignored it a little more. Eventually though, I realised it wasn't going to be quite that simple and I was going to have to make the dreaded task of visiting the dentist. I wouldn't say I have a fear of the dentist, but it's certainly not a place I'd like to be spending my time. So, I booked my appointment and received my email saying that I have to ensure I arrive on time. So I wake up super early and arrive at exactly the time arranged. In fact, even a little early, just to make sure. I then sit there in the waiting room for 45 minutes. Well, I am sure glad I got here on time. I wouldn't have wanted to miss this. Eventually, the dentist comes literally sprinting through the reception area, clearly late for work. Oh great, a dentist who is flustered and in a hurry. Can't wait for them to put sharp instruments into my mouth. Finally, I get called into the treatment room and am greeted with the most intimidating looking chair imaginable. Before they proceed to tilt me back and shine the world's brightest light in my face. Okay, ow. Yes, I see. Does this hurt? How about this? What about this? Does this hurt? So after a very pleasant examination, the dentist agrees that it's probably best to get the wisdom tooth removed. Well, I could have told you that before you shoved your fist in my mouth. But not before suggesting a few various other completely irrelevant but shockingly expensive things she would recommend doing first. Unfortunately, when you are at the dentist, you're in a pretty vulnerable state. So, just out of curiosity, do you think you'd like to go ahead with everything recommended? So I return a week later for the work we mutually agreed definitely needs doing before dealing with the actual reason I came here in the first place. And the exact same thing happens again. The dentist comes sprinting through the door 45 minutes late like she's the final contestant in a marathon. Look, I live just round the corner from the dentist. How about from now on you just call me when the dentist arrives and I'll make the 2-minute walk round the corner. We go into the examination room again and sit in absolute silence for a while as she goes over my paperwork. She then hands me a piece of paper to sign, basically saying, no matter what happens, regardless of how bad things go, I'm not allowed to blame them. Which again seems a little under duress as they know I'm in a lot of pain and really don't have any other option. So of course I sign my life away, tilt back, open wide, the dentist begins her work, and this is the time she decided to get chatty. So tell me about yourself. What have you been up to? You going anywhere nice this year? Is it annoying being asked questions while someone has their arms in your mouth? But then comes the moment we all hate, the dreaded numbing injections. She stabs me in the face several times before asking if I can still feel anything. This of course is a trick question because if I say yes, she's going to stab me some more. She continues with the procedure and after shoving just about every item that's in that room into my mouth, we are finally done. But don't worry, we are not quite done with one of the worst days of your life because we've still got that one last piece of extreme embarrassment to come in the form of the dentist's final sick joke. Great, all done. Just go to reception, explain what's been done, and they'll take payment.
Okay.
Hello, sir. How can I help you?
Hello. I just had a fever. I just had to call you're just so helpful.
Okay, just insert your credit card and I'll keep smashing that 0 key like it's the J and Pixel subscribe button. So as of right now, I have a 99% healthy mouth, with the one exception of the tooth I actually went in for in the first place. For that, I've now been referred to the hospital for surgery, which I'm very much looking forward to. But thanks to my very helpful dentist, I am no longer just in constant pain, I am now in constant pain and a hell of a lot poorer. However, on the plus side, at least my dentist's new Ferrari might get them to work on damn time. Calming rest and relaxation. Well, that's what usually comes to mind when we think of a spa day. However, that wasn't exactly my experience. Recently, my girlfriend arranged for us to stay at a beautiful hotel out in the countryside that included the use of an on-site spa. And yes, this is the same girlfriend who put me through my worst nightmare that I talked about in a previous video, so maybe this was her way of making up for it. Although it wasn't exactly without its problems. Firstly, let's just discuss massage. Now, I'm sure there are people out there that absolutely love a good massage, but for me, the idea of having a complete stranger rub oil over my half-naked body is not exactly something that I imagine to be a relaxing experience. So, instead, looking over the spa's facilities, I decided there were 4 in particular that I would like to try out. The pool, the jacuzzi, the steam room, and the sauna. So I arrive at the entrance to the spa and a staff member kindly points me in the direction of the changing room. I go in, get into my swim shorts, and then step back outside, only to find the staff member had now gone. I stand there awkwardly, not knowing where I'm supposed to go for a while, as other guests walk by looking confused at the half-naked man standing in the hall. So I take a step back into the changing room, wondering if there was a sign or something I missed, and yeah. It's only at this point that I notice a second door across the room that actually leads into the spa itself. So, a good start. Firstly, the pool. So I kicked things off nice and simple by jumping in the pool. Now, I'll be honest, I'm not a particularly good swimmer, so I pretty much just went as deep as I could while still standing on my tiptoes, just enough to keep my face above water. But you know what? I still had a great time in the pool, so it's a big tick from me. The jacuzzi. I have been in a jacuzzi a few times before. In fact, we even had one on one of our previous holidays. You know, the one where I was horribly savaged by a cat. But feline assault aside, I had definitely enjoyed it that time. So I optimistically take a seat in the jacuzzi, activate the jets, and... honest to God, this has to be the most powerful jacuzzi I've ever seen in my life. It was like a jacuzzi on steroids. But hey, despite the over-exuberance of this one in particular, I was still having a good time. The steam room. Now this part of the video is going to be very easy to draw because for any of you who have ever been in a steam room, you'll know that all you can see is this. Now I don't know who came up with the idea of taking a seat in a small room filling with boiling hot steam, but I will never understand how it caught on. It's way too hot. You can't see a thing, and if you have the audacity to breathe, you drag all that hot steam into your lungs to create a fabulous combination of pain and choking. Nope, this one does not get the J& Pixels spa treatment approval. And finally, the sauna. Okay, so I have seen many TV shows and movies featuring a sauna, showing it to be a glorious place to take a seat, relax, and just let the stress melt away. But honestly, the only thing melting away was me. What the hell is going on here? The temperature in this room made the steam room look like an Arctic expedition. It felt like I had basically just paid to step into a human-sized oven. If you enjoy a sauna, good for you, but your skin must be made out of steel. I must have lasted a minute before the heat was too much and I burst out of there like it was on fire, which it felt like it was. So all in, a 50% success rate on the spa. So whether you look at this glass half full or half empty, one thing is for sure. I think I'll be picking the hotel from now on. Now you're mine.
Jay, are you playing that damn game again? I told you, you're going to be late for school.
I love Pokemon. I have loved Pokemon ever since I was a little kid. Ever since I watched episode 1 of the anime and saw Ash Ketchum slip into his unending coma. Nope, sorry, wait. We don't have time to indulge online fan theories. But it does explain how Ash managed to remain... I said we don't have time! If you're a Gen 1 kid like me, but you retired your Pokeballs many years ago, you might be shocked to hear that there are now over 1,000 Pokemon. Oh yes, the franchise has come a long way since the days of a purple rat and whatever the hell this thing is. It now has things like a giant sword and a balloon that drags you to the afterlife. But before the Pokemon world became a terrifying place to live, I used to dream of living in a Pokemon reality. So much so that I even used to make little cardboard cutouts of different Pokemon, hide them in our garden and run around pretending to catch them all. I didn't have many friends as a kid. But don't worry, because as you get older, an obsession with Pokemon only gets cooler. Right? But what if Pokemon were real? What if they all existed here, in the real world? What would be the benefits and, maybe more importantly, the dangers? Well, in the interest of not making this video 8 hours long, I'm just going to highlight 3 of the best and 3 of the worst effects of a Pokemon reality. Positive number 1. The end of world hunger. No, we're not just going to eat all the Pokemon. But you only have to look as far as the very first Pokemon starters to solve some of the biggest problems known to mankind. Starving? Send out a Bulbasaur to grow endless amounts of crops. Freezing? Send a Charmander to effortlessly keep people warm. And no access to clean water? Not a problem. Just send in a Squirtle to produce an infinite amount. Negative number 1. Unemployment at an all-time high. Yeah, this isn't the most fantastical and interesting part of a Pokemon reality, but it definitely would be a big one. We have seen in the Pokemon world that man and Pokemon work side by side, but do you really think your job as a construction worker is safe when the boss has this guy running around? Do we really need power plants when we could just strap a couple of wires to a Zapdos? I mean, for crying out loud, even our postmen aren't safe. Positive number 2. Cloning. Don't feel like going to school or work today. Not feeling up to that wedding party or drinks down the pub, but you promised you'd be there. Not a problem anymore. Just send this guy. Ditto can transform into absolutely anything, meaning you have your own personal clone to do whatever you want. Okay, so he can't really speak or function in any particularly useful way, but hey, neither can most of us until we've had our 3rd coffee of the day. Negative number 2. Mr. Mime. Yeah, I'm sorry, but unless this guy is outlawed, I don't want to be anywhere near that city. Positive number 3. We'd all be rich. In a Pokemon world, the ability to make so much money is both abundant and easy. For starters, have you seen in-game how much money 10-year-olds are handing over after losing a battle? Or the amount of unbelievably valuable items just lying around? And even if that's too much effort for you, all you need is a Meowth. Negative number 3. An inevitable Pokemon uprising. Yeah, sorry to end on such a dark note, but let's be honest. We wouldn't stand a chance. When even a tiny little electric mouse is capable of turning you into charred dust, what chance do we have against things like a violent distortion god? There are Pokemon capable of mass extinction, planet destruction, and even the manipulation of time and space itself. Unfortunately, the war would be a quick one, and we would have no choice but to bow down at the feet of our new leader, the almighty Arceus. Well, unless someone has a Master Ball. I've been making videos for 2 years now and have a long list of video ideas still to come. However, YouTube in its infinite AI generated wisdom is always on hand to help out its creators, so has therefore brought in the Inspiration tab. For those of you who have access to YouTube's Creator Studio, you may have noticed this recent new addition to the content section. And for those of you who don't, let me enlighten you. Put simply, the Inspiration tab is YouTube's slightly patronising attempt at giving creators video ideas using the much-loved generative AI. And although at first glance these video ideas might look like utter insert rude word here, maybe I'm being too close-minded and quick to judge. So instead of shutting these ideas down straight away, let's put them to you, the audience, to see if YouTube really does know the types of videos you guys want to see. The very first piece of inspiration. Okay, sorry, I'll stop that now. Given to me, courtesy of YouTube, was the not at all insulting "why I don't have more subscribers" explained. Wow, damn YouTube! A pretty sick burn on me, so thanks for that. But also quite presumptuous to assume I actually have an explanation for that anyway. I mean, if I was able to explain my apparent underwhelming subscriber count according to YouTube, then surely it wouldn't be so bad as to be getting roasted by YouTube suggestions in the first place. So yeah, not a particularly helpful suggestion, but if you were trying to hurt me, mission accomplished. YouTube's second suggestion is really showing off its AI's creative vision, recommending a video that I have already done, and just a few months ago. Now don't get me wrong, I'm very proud of that video, and you should all go and watch it, but I'm pretty sure it wouldn't go down too well if I just started posting the same video over and over. Okay, so I'm not exactly ecstatic about YouTube's first two inspirations. However, although both of those suggestions seem bad, unimaginative, insulting even, the next one is just downright bizarre. So for Jay and Pixels, the small, silly YouTube animation channel, YouTube believes I should be tackling the topic, what does true freedom feel like? Little heavy for my light comedic cartoons maybe, YouTube. I mean, if anyone's going to talk about the true feeling of freedom, it's probably not the guy who spends his days and nights chained to a drawing tablet in a darkened room by himself. So I think it's safe to say I won't be taking any of YouTube's creative suggestions anytime soon. But hey, if you could just subscribe or watch Facing My Fear, then maybe YouTube will stop with the passive-aggressive suggestions. Thank you so much for watching the Jay in Pixels Year 2 compilation. I really hope you've been enjoying all the videos over the last 2 years. I have loved making them and reading all your wonderful comments. And even the mean ones still actually help the channel's engagement, so thank you guys too, I guess. I have been working so hard and putting in a lot of effort to keep making my videos better and better, and I'm excited to see how much we can continue to grow. I'm already looking forward to making a bunch more videos for you all as we go into Jay and Pixels Year 3. Hopefully, I will see you there.